I like to cover these assets from a real world perspective, and I'll tell you, it don't get no more real world than this.
How you doing?
Hey, how are you? Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, you take Bitcoin?
Sure do.
Is Ethereum okay?
Sure is. Hey, how you doing today?
Good. You take Solana?
Of course.
All right, I'll take a vanilla cone.
Can I get a vanilla cone?
Always number one
coming
choice,
right
vanilla.
tap right here for me.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Oh, it actually didn't go through. Whoa. It's gonna take about 27 minutes before Bitcoin confirms.
How is that fair?
That'll be 61.40. Go ahead and tap right here.
For ice cream?
Gas prices. You guys know that though. Try it one more time for me.
No problem. How about now?
No. Oh man. Sorry, it's a little melting here. I got it for you.
You got it.
Nope, I don't. You gonna buy?
There you go.
One more time. Oh, it's really good. Should have shopped with Algorand.
Listen. The part where the little kid goes, "How is that fair?" I don't think that was written into the script. That seems like a genuine reaction. If you're new to the channel, man, my name is Wade. I want to welcome you to another edition of the DHN Crypto Podcast. I've been in the space since 2019. I've researched over 1,000 different cryptocurrencies. I only created this channel to share all of that knowledge with you. Algorand is going to be our focus in this episode, guys. And I just want to look this up real quick. How much does it cost for a Super Bowl commercial next year? Average around $6-7 million. Yeah, people lose $7 million a day in crypto. Algorand could fit this bill. The point I'm making here, guys, is I remember being in the space during a point of time where crypto marketing was everything. Crypto.com, FTX, Coinbase, Robinhood. There was even non-crypto companies like Expedia coming out with crypto-related marketing. This thing got so big that in 2022, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they rechristened that year's Super Bowl into the Crypto Bowl because during halftime, all of those commercials ran. And yes, you can guarantee, you can say that the market did pump along with that. I do remember that. And then after that hysteria wore off, we entered into that dark ages. I call 2022 the dark ages. The point I'm getting at here is times are changing, ladies and gentlemen, and there are only a few assets that are changing with the times, and Algorand is one of them. What we're going to look at in this video are a few case studies that Algorand has conducted this year on applications that are running on Algorand that are actively contributing to real world innovation here. We're going to start by looking at Finboot. And what I'm also going to do is share with you some articles and pieces of information that go along with this case study to give you an idea of the real world impact that these apps on Algorand are having. So let's jump into the first one here.
Imagine you go into your supermarket and you arrive into the fridge of the yogurts, no? And you take a yogurt pot. Where that product is coming from? At the moment, we don't know. What we aim to do is to understand the history of that product, where the product is coming from, how it's being transformed, and then how it's being sold to us as consumers.
Finboot is a green supply chain management company. We help customers in capital-intensive industries with traceability of their low-carbon, renewable, and circular products. Ultimately, everything we're doing is aimed and it's focused at helping our clients accelerate their sustainability journey.
So whenever we have plastic waste, there's a transformation process. We have, for example, 3 companies. All of them are going to be inside our platform registering information from the product waste into that raw material of plastic into at the end, that yogurt pot conversion until a supermarket. All of them are going to be inside the Finboot platform, registering information.
Data needs to be shared, but it needs to be verified, right? And it needs to be trusted. Blockchain is an excellent choice to then have that evidence-backed data, to have that accountability and that trust on the information that we are tracing to what's essentially a very complex and dynamic ecosystem. Brands will only pay that premium for those circular products if the data is there to back it up.
Algorand is doing a great work on building a reliable, safe, zero downtime blockchain technology that at the end enables sharing of information, validation of information. And when we are talking about regulation, when we are talking about sharing product data, when we are talking about all the part that involves sustainability in large enterprises, Algorand is the way to go.
For a fairly small technology company, working with such giants like Repsol, Sabic, Cepsa, Evonik, just to name a few, that is incredible, right? To have a solution that is already implemented globally. We've got facilities in North America, Latin America, Europe, and Asia using our technology. What we want to do is make sure that we prevent some of those more catastrophic impacts or consequences of climate change. The only way we do that is by enabling and accelerating a true and transparent energy transition and decarbonization of our industries.
Now, in most cases, when people bring up the environment and climate change and sustainability, it barbs people, it prods people, it really does, because there are so many people on one side and so many people on the other side. Removing all of that, there were a few other things that they brought up that will actually have a more immediate impact in the real world. For example, food traceability. Confusion persists with food traceability rules as compliance date nears. So apparently in 2022, and this is information it's fresh to me, I got it this morning, but the FDA is setting up a new rule. We have it here, where it's requiring companies that are involved with the shipping, packaging, and transport of foods that they need to incorporate more digital solutions in order to meet the standards, the new standards that are going to be put in place by this rule. The rule is set to be enforced by January of 2026. So what that sets up for is the catalyst over the next few months for companies to be looking for services like a Finboot. They have a list here of food traceability, foods that require this extra documentation along with this rule. And looking at this list, man, this is foods that everyone eats every day: dairy, cheese, milk, greens. Was there meats on here? Yeah, there was a few meats on here. It's what it is that it goes back to the real world elements that are creating an appetite for the applications that are running on this chain. We're talking about Algorand, so in this case, it would be Finboot. What I learned by reading this report here, courtesy of Grocery Dive, which focus on grocery retail chains, is that there is an issue with upgrading their systems. They are not equipped to provide all of the data that the FDA will now be looking for as to where their food is coming from, all of those things like that. They also mention circular. Now that ties into something called the circular economy. I have mentioned the circular economy before on this channel, but it is quite a deep subject. To simplify it, the circular economy is based on three principles: eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials, and regenerate nature. If you want to dig deeper into this, the lady you need to know is Madam Ellen MacArthur. She has her own foundation backed by the World Economic Forum, McKinsey, other big name organizations. And she's really spearheading this new way of thinking. So again, we have an example here of an appetite for this application. And they said the word sustainability so many times, and I'm just going to cut straight to the meat here. Whenever you hear the word sustainability, it all goes back to these goals right here. These 17 sustainable development goals, as they say, for the people, for the planet, lined up with Agenda 2030. It is definitely a good idea to dive into each one of these goals individually. I've done it before in previous episodes where I researched the assets that was most closely aligned with these sustainable development goals, because there is about $70 trillion going into these goals over the next 5 years. Simply put. And there was one more. I covered the circular economy. Nope, that was everything. So let's jump into the second use case. I got a bit of I got to feeling myself a bit there, because I've been researching about it for years, and now it's all seem to come to the surface. This next case study is about Hasab Pay, an application I remember coming into the space. This was late 2020, 2021, part of a program in Afghanistan to bring financial independence, entrepreneurship to the women of Afghanistan. They've been having a revolution out there, and now there are tools, technology-driven tools, that these women can use to achieve that goal.
Hasab Pay tries to help people receive funds wherever they are in the world. We particularly focus on very difficult jurisdictions, areas where there might not be any banks.
While the traditional banking sector was working before the Taliban took over, only 6% of the population had a bank account, yeah? And of that 6%, a small fraction of that was women. And so digital financial services had never worked in Afghanistan. Hasab Pay is the first time that an interoperable digital payment system has worked in Afghanistan, and the only infrastructure we need is a phone and a connection to the internet. That's one of the key things that Algorand's brought to this equation, that we don't require these centralized institutions in Afghanistan which aren't functional.
We never had telephone lines, strung across the whole country, linking house to house or building to building. Due to the past, 40 years of war. So when telephone did come to Afghanistan, we went straight to 3G. We kind of leapfrogged over that whole, process of an antiquated system. So similarly for banking, this is a really kind of critical moment for a lot of people that didn't have that previous system, to rely on, that they can leapfrog over all those challenges and go straight to something that's cheaper, faster, more efficient. What Hasab Pay brought into the picture was to say, all right, hey, we're going to sign you up. 45 seconds, we're going to take a picture of a QR code. Here's your plastic card. Every month, you're going to get funds directly on that card. You don't need to come here to this, long center and wait in line. You can go straight to a shop. And we found out that there were so many other benefits, not only, time saving, but there was a sense of dignity. We knew we wanted a blockchain. We wanted something secure, reliable, scalable, resistant to hacking, all these wonderful benefits of a mutable blockchain. However, when we started, the cost of running or processing transactions was enormous. And those costs got way out of hand. And that's when we learned about Algorand. And then we migrated everything over. And now there's not a single penny that we pay for processing fees and running nodes and servers and all these, because everything's handled cheaper, faster, more efficiently on the Algorand blockchain, which is scalable enough that we don't have to worry about, okay, now we have to, add another country. How, what do we do with our financial ledger? We have over 500,000 users. They're transacting currently 3 billion Afghani a month. They're using it not only, transfer money peer-to-peer, but also to pay their, home electric bills. 250,000 households a month use it, for that. They use it to buy airtime. Over, 3 million transactions have been completed just for airtime purchases. And then, yes, now we're happy to say we're expanding with both MasterCard and MoneyGram. So MasterCard enables someone to then pay directly from their phone or with a physical card to a shop or buy something online if they want. And MoneyGram allows them to receive funds internationally.
Hasab Pay was built by Afghans for Afghans. And one of the key things that we wanted to do when we were designing Hasab Pay was to bring dignity back to the humanitarian experience. When you've been struck by a disaster and you're traumatized, the way that humanitarian assistance is often delivered is pretty undignified. We wanted to make it dignified and fast, particularly for women in Afghanistan. And I think that's one of the things we've really achieved.
Watching that makes me a bit emotional. Digging into the case study for relevant information, I found out that the Afghan banking system is still quite suppressed. I know this is a clip-heavy episode, but I'll just leave a link to this story here. And there's going to be an ad. Simply, this story from a year ago talks about how the banking system, here we go, we'll let them take it away.
Facing a major challenge,
real short,
an economic decline in the absence of foreign aid. Financial problems and the lack of relations between Afghan banks and international banks forced business owners and international institutions to use the indirect transfer system to transfer funds to the Afghan interior. The financial crisis in Afghanistan is accompanied by an economic deterioration from which the Afghan citizen suffers as unemployment worsened with a dwindling of job opportunities and the cessation of international aid.
All commercial transactions are in US dollars, and merchants face several problems. Banks in Afghanistan cannot pay merchants in dollars or transfer them abroad, which forces merchants to convert transactions from dollars to euros.
Yes, there are restrictions in the external and international transfer. For example, we cannot transfer dollars to other countries, but we can transfer euros, pounds, and...
So what that illustrates is a problem that stems from the Taliban and other forces. Without making this conversation too geopolitical, it again represents an appetite for some sort of solution to address this problem. And Hasab Pay is in the perfect position to do that. They also talked about the use cases for refugees or people who get displaced, maybe due to war, weather. It could be a number of reasons. We have an example of a working refugee payment system in the form of MoneyGram partner Stellar Lumens in collaboration with the UN. So, word of this successfully getting these funds to these people in Afghanistan trickles up to the UN. Now you have Stellar and ALGO working with the UN, creating this type of software that is being used in these places. Now, again, removing all of the geopolitics, guys, and not talking about how these situations arise. If we're investing for utility, this is what it's going to be used for. These are the problems that they're going to address. Now, they also talked about working with MasterCard as well as MoneyGram. I find it funny that this year, both MasterCard and MoneyGram expanded into the UAE. In addition to that, ParaWallet, a few months ago, back in June, it's an ALGO wallet, integrated MasterCard to enhance their payment options. So this is similar to what we talked about a couple days ago with Alchemy Pay, where it's a crypto to fiat conversion. You got crypto, ALGO in your ParaWallet. You can then use that to spend just like you would regular cash. So if they have a problem moving USD in Afghanistan, this is an alternative option. I don't see how it could get any more clearer than that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, for the sake of time, let's jump over to our last. Oh, wait, nope, I can't even do that because also former head of fintech strategy and innovation at MoneyGram, Luther Mayday, joins the ALGO Foundation. This was 13 days ago. So clearly something's brewing, guys. Let's jump to this last case study here. Quantos Payments. We've talked a lot about this one. This one has major implications for the stablecoin discussion that's happening right now.
Quantos is a blockchain fintech company. Quantos develops the technology for backend systems in tokenized assets for third parties, but we also develop our own tools. We decided to create a digital euro because it was really missing. Our first experiments were together with corporates, for example, companies like BASF, the chemical company, Boeing, Porsche. Our customers needed digital euros, for example, for transactions with digitized, tokenized assets. We decided, let's make our own digital euro and do it the right way. In the end, you need to have a real money. Especially at that time, we're talking about 6-7 years ago, there was no regulated euros available on blockchain. Without regulated euros, these companies cannot continue. Based on these experiences, we teamed up with a bank to try to build this first digital stablecoin, stable euro. So about 3.5 years ago, we decided if it doesn't come, we lose our customers with our technology because there is no model to be created. Maybe we have to do it ourselves, fully regulated, with the right technology, with the right vision, and with a set of requirements that will enable all these new payment options. I said, well, if we are going to make such a currency, it has to be on a blockchain, but what requirements would we set for the technology, the blockchain as the infrastructure, to be perfect for such application? There need to be short settlement times. The fees need to be very, very low to allow micropayments. It needs to be firm. There should be no possibility that transactions are rolled back. We also noticed in our application with the central bank, this has become a very important factor. It's the environmental impact of blockchains. There was additional requirements, like we want to have good governance on such a blockchain. Well, all these factors together leaves only very few candidates. For us, the choice for Algorand was a logical one then. The whole base of Algorand with the ASA, the Algorand standard assets built into the protocol, the extreme high throughput the Algorand blockchain can provide, which is really needed to have this large amount of transactions. Atomic transactions are transactions where both involved entities have to sign, and the transaction will fail if one of them fails. So you are sure when the transaction happens, both actions happen at the same time. We had to explain a regulator. They never heard about Algorand before, and they really liked it also. For example, one of the features of the protocol of Algorand that's built into the protocol is this freeze-unfreeze whitelisting, meaning you can create virtual private networks within a public blockchain. This is something regulators love. Looking from the viewpoint of Quantos Payments, we see two main goals, main areas of use. The first one is in payments itself. There's no fees. People receiving, companies receiving, people paying, companies paying. There's no fees. That's very attractive because currently online payments and payment service providers, they take their share. It also enables micropayments, very small payments that are currently not possible because of the fees. They really take away all the possible benefits. There's several companies we talk with, also very, very large companies. For example, public transport. The typical problem they have that digital payments, for example, for a bus ticket, it's a small payment with a very low margin. So traditional payment methods really take away a lot of that margin, or sometimes are even more expensive than the potential margin. So this could be really a new solution for them. With EURD, it's a firm payment. It's like paying in cash.
So, when we're talking euros, we're talking about the euro dollar. Quantos Payments announces the launch of a regulated and programmable euro on the Algorand network. The reason this is so big is mainly because of the MiCA stablecoin rules that are set to be finalized. Well, they've already been finalized, but everybody has to be compliant by December 31st of this year. Algorand was one of the first crypto-related companies to start to support and develop products in preparation for this transition. Another Algorand ally in the form of Circle was also the first global stablecoin issuer to comply with MiCA. That's relevant because one of the chains that this EU stablecoin from Circle will run on is also Algorand. There's a number of other EU-based stablecoin products on Algorand. And when we take a look at what the rules for MiCA are specifically, you'll get a better understanding as to how this positions those regulated EU stablecoins and the networks that they run on to attract the most value. Courtesy of Binance, from June 30th, 2024, MiCA requires that certain stablecoin activities be undertaken only by electronic money institutions and credit unions, more simply, banks. In essence, this means that in the European Economic Area, only e-money institutions and banks can issue and mint stablecoins, communicate offers to encourage the purchase of stablecoins, i.e. sell them, ask trading platforms to list their stablecoins. And what we've seen as a reaction to these rules is, like I just showed you, Circle becoming the first one to make their stablecoin compliant. We're also seeing Tether forced to make some evasive maneuvers. They're having to react and come up with an EU regulated stablecoin product. So the ones who have the regulated product are in the best position. And Algorand and Quantos were the first ones to tap into this. If you would like to take this a step further, well, let's talk about how the European Central Bank is holding workshops for business-to-business payments centered around stablecoins and tokenized deposits. I, for one, have been screaming at the top of my lungs that 2023, for one, was going to be the year of stablecoins, and it was because of global stablecoin arrangements. 24 months later, stablecoins are everywhere. The groundwork was laid in 2023. Now, what do we hear about the most, ladies and gentlemen? You can argue if you want, but open up your Crypto Panic news app. You will see the word stablecoin at least 6 different times. Now, there was something else too. He brought up digital payments for public transit. Now, this one hits home. The Rapid becomes first Michigan transit agency to launch contactless payments. I'll tell you, in my town here, they're just now starting to introduce it, and it's really catching people by surprise. You now have the option to pay with your regular transit ticket, or you download the transit app, which works all across the nation, by the way, and you can download your bus pass into the transit app and just scan it onto the bus, right? Google Pay in their Google Wallet also allows you to do the same thing. The future of that is going to involve not only ALGO and Quantos, but another one of their close buddies, MasterCard. Yeah, I knew they had to bring MasterCard back in. Open and closed loop payment systems for mass transit. When you really think about this could hit the ground running as soon as this holiday season, if not soon by January. All it takes is to incorporate a digital payment software into your transit system. And with things like what Visa just created, which is a new all-in-one solution to create payment systems, and then the UDPN overseas, the EU has a number of payment softwares too that they're getting ready to launch. What's it called? The Regulated Liability Network? Oh yeah, tokenized deposits, tokenized stablecoins. It's all right there, guys. So taking in all of these case studies, it gives you an idea of the direction that Algorand is heading. If you're investing for utility, it don't get no better than this. Look outside your window or wherever you are right now. If you see a bus go by you, that's your signal. And I'm ending this episode on that note, guys. Like I said, I've been in this space since 2019. I've used a bunch of crypto tools, softwares, platforms, you name it. But there are only 3 that I would recommend for you to get started with. They'll be linked in the pinned comment. One of those is Uphold. You can see by the craftfully edited ad that I made here. But Uphold, link in the pinned comment, man. Again, these assets are changing things. And it now seems like the pace is quicker than it's ever been. So with that, y'all know what time it is. If that money is digital, so is the hustle.